So let's talk about some of your findings and, more importantly, your recommendations. Other than staying out of the sun, wearing a hat, and the list goes on, is SPF really the main thing we should be looking out for when finding creams or sprays to apply to our skin? And should South Africans of different hues, different colors, should they be approaching their sun protection differently?
Yes, so I think let's get into that. So I think firstly, what I'd recommend, from the recommendations, what I'll mention is that sun protection should be a daily consideration, whether for prolonged outdoor exposures or just that incidental exposure. It should be recognized that everyday activities can lead to an accumulation of chronic UV exposure. So daily sunscreen application for all skin colors. And then, as you mentioned, you touched on this, sunscreen is just one component of a sun protective strategy. And we encourage the use of clothing and wide brimmed hats, sunglasses, seeking shade. Because in South Africa, we have a high unemployment rate. Not everybody can afford sunscreen. It's not accessible to everyone. And so physical barriers should actually be prioritized in these cases. Now, sun protection factor, or SPF, the recommendation is to look for a sunscreen with an SPF of 50, and that's a measure of UVB. But we also want adequate UVA protection. So that's the gold standard. Higher SPFs actually is going to compensate for the common under-application by the general public of sunscreen, because sunscreen needs to be applied in adequate amounts in order to reach that SPF that you see labeled on your product.